Hey guys, it's me, Carly, coming at you with another video. And as you can tell, I have a special guest. My boyfriend Chris is back visiting me in Wisconsin.
Yep, also known as the Wicked Merman here on YouTube.
Yes, and on his channel, we did a video of us exchanging our anniversary presents because today is our 2-year anniversary, and we're lucky enough to spend it in person. Oh, sorry. And today we want to talk, or more so, rant about the Fate Winx Saga. How dare they call themselves Winx?
Yes, and this is interesting considering she has not really watched the show. Oh, I mean, I've sent her some episodes to watch, but she's never gotten through all of it. And I'm someone who grew up watching the Winx Club. Really, just the 4Kids dub because that's the only good dub. Despite what the original creator says, complaining about it, saying that it took away from some of the more darker elements. Yeah, and yet you had the Nickelodeon dub of condense all of it into like specials and made it more kid friendly and also made a statement saying that only kids watch cartoons.
We're I'm 25 and he's 26 and we like to watch cartoons.
Yeah. Yes, and
for nostalgic purposes.
And just gonna get into what other dubs, they suck. The Rai slash Cinnaloom dub, which is supposed to be accurate, it sucks because for one, and that whole offensive thing with the black girls, those afro in the season 1, which they were trying to make up for by adding a black girl to the roster, which I'll forgive that because Layla slash Aisha is awesome, the best of the Winx. And 2, the voices, they were just terrible. It's like they all sound the same and they all sounded so bored all the time.
Yeah.
The Nick dub, there were some good voices, like Kiki Palmer as Aisha was good, Elizabeth Gillies as Daphne was good, Grey Delisle as headmistress is Griffin. The woman can do no wrong.
Griffin? No, yeah. Her last name is Griffin, so that's funny.
And anyway, hey, and some other voices like Daniela Monet doing in that girl Mitzi. She did a decent job. And the voices for her headmistress for Griselda was pretty good because she's also the voice of Maleficent and Lady Tremaine. And 2 other good voices were the voices of the villains Valtor and Darkheart.
And Ariana Grande was Stella.
No, she was
one of the voices.
She was Diaspro. Although I feel like she would have been better for Floor because she has a very light and soft sounding voice.
Yeah.
But anyway, 4Kids, the best job because for one, they fixed that racist moment and the voices just suited the characters so perfectly.
Oh, and if you have trouble finding that episode with the Afro girl crying with an annoying voice, or the squeaky voice, they literally tried to scrub that episode, and I can't find the original version with the hair because the people, it was so bad that they tried to literally scrub the internet of that episode.
Yeah, and consequently, they take the 4Kids version, which had the issue not be the hair, but her voice is getting all high and squeaky, which honestly makes more sense and is one of the reasons the 4Kids version is better. So yeah, 4Kids, you did a good job. You did.
And also the ranting about the animation in the later seasons. Oh, I hate it because first of all, Aisha is like closer to my skin tone. She's like tan.
Yep, and
no, not Aisha, Flora.
Yeah, With Flora, they pretty much just made her white passing. They actually made her lighter than you.
Yes, and
Whereas Aisha, she was more closer to your skin tone and looked more like a redhead rather than a I'd say bur- dark burgundy color, or kind of a brown, a reddish brown color.
yeah, which is why I won't watch it. Anything with whitewashing, which is why we're talking about the Fate Winx saga.
Yeah, we have not watched it and we do not plan to. We have seen in reviews of it, particularly the one from Modern Girls, which was an awesome review, and she's also an awesome YouTuber, and if you're not subscribed to her, I don't know what you're waiting for.
Yeah. So I saw the trailer for Winx. I would not have known it was a Winx saga because one, everything's dark. Turn on some frickin' lights. Two, there's no Flora, which
There's a Actually, there is technically a Flora, a whitewashed version of Flora, because according to what Martin and Girls said, there was a clip from the audition where she was referred to as Flora. Here you go.
yeah, sorry. Sometimes my voice gets dry during these videos.
Anyway, but they thought they could fix it by naming the character Tara, and then after that they figured we'll make her Flora's cousin and have her say, "I have a cousin named Flora."
But Tara
Yeah.
still shouldn't be white. She
Yeah.
should be brown Latina. And I say
Yeah.
brown Latina because Latina is not a race.
Or Hispanic. It's still pretty confusing for us, and definitely confusing for me since I am a white man, and yep, acknowledging my privilege. She helps me keep my privilege in line.
So the casting choices that
And also, Techna does not exist in the
Oh, yeah.
at all, which
No,
is
Tecna.
stupid, especially since a lot of people do think that she's coded as autistic, and I can definitely see that, and I'm definitely not disagreeing. In fact, I think that's just awesome.
yeah.
And the tricks have been condensed into one lackluster villain called Beatrix. B-A Trix.
Ew.
I hate it.
Let's see. They didn't even name the town Magix or whatever the realm was.
It was called Magix.
Yeah, it's named Otherworlds in the series. I'm like, and they don't have wings or sparkles or glitter or good fashion sense. Oh my god, Stella.
And they get and Bloom gets wings at the end, and apparently, and the transformation wasn't even that good, and she even depended on Aisha to use water to make it look more like the transformation, but really all she got was wings, and not an outfit, because, yeah, why they have it have anything to do with the things that people loved in it to begin with? And, yeah, let's just dive right in and get to the whitewashing, because, yeah.
Musa's outfit was... Oh my god, all the fashions are just...
If you can even call her Musa.
She's... Okay, first of all, Musa is designed after Lucy Liu. So that means she's Asian or Chinese.
Specifically a Chinese. But either way, East Asian. And if you watch the show, he clearly looks Asian. Her hairstyles are very Asian. She's worn outfits with Asian influence. And her realm is very Asian, and the ruler there looks like a Chinese emperor. Her parents look Asian. Her mother had a very Asian hairstyle and Asian inspired fashion as well. So yeah, she is obviously Asian.
And she's literally designed after one. So
yes. So, and don't give me the bullshit that the actress is 1/3 Singapore, because no, that is not. If you're going by that, it's the same thing as casting a racially ambiguous girl as a black woman. and which I'm surprised they didn't do with this, but I guess they figured, or just give them one dark-skinned woman, and I'm sure they won't care about the others. And
It's like,
actually, I did hear some people say that they didn't care because they wouldn't care because others wouldn't care if it was the black woman, but no, that is not an excuse, because adding one person of color into a group of white people is not diversity, especially if the source material was more diverse to begin with, and even if it wasn't their intent, that does not matter. The intent and is not what's important. The impact is what is important, and this is more. And I'll let you rant about this more, since the whole race thing is something you experience and rant about a lot more than I do.
yes,
Because again, white man.
I rant about it so much, he's like, okay, it's just, I need
Yeah.
a break.
Yeah, but I do acknowledge that she does need to talk about it, because when you're in an interracial relationship, you have to acknowledge that race is a subject that you have to hear about a lot, because it's something they experience on a daily basis.
Okay, first of all, I've said this, I hope the actress
Precious Mustafa.
Precious Mustafa does well. I hope she moves on to better things. I also really hope she's being compensated for with hairstyles, because a lot of when you hire like a black actress on a white cast, a lot of times the black actress will come with their hair and makeup already done, because it's not just like a very it's not just a Winx thing, it's like a industry-wide problem, which for those of you, sorry Chris, he's probably gonna, TVD had Bonnie, Cat Graham is such a beautiful woman, but then they had her come, they had to put her in those awful ass lace fronts, and I'm just like, why? Cat Graham's hair is so naturally beautiful, and like that glue, because I don't wear wigs, mainly because of the glue, because that glue will break your edges off. And then let's see. I'm glad they had her hair in braids, and I did hear she wrapped up her hair, which is which is what a lot of black women do. So that minor detail is very much appreciated. But I don't know if there's black people behind the scenes. And for those of you who watch Boy Meets World, all those cool hairstyles Angela had
were all done by Trina.
Which that's also a big problem, because black actresses should not have to, it should not be a white-knuckled experience for them to sit in that styling chair and not be worried if their makeup's going to look on point, or it's like, okay, no, forget it, I'm doing it myself. Because with as dark as Precious is, it's very hard to find a foundation that matches her skin tone.
And speaking of that, and even though I haven't seen the show, I'm pretty sure that whenever they're out at night, in whatever dark or generic place they're at, she is impossible to see, because of the shit lighting and the dark tone they're going in for.
Riverdale tone.
Yeah, it's the Riverdale thing again. They did this with It's Sabrina. And now they're doing it with Winx, and I'm sure they've done it with other shows, and it's been bullshit treatment to the source material and to the actors. In fact, even to the actors of color, because as I believe Vanessa Morgan from Riverdale, who is also known from My Babysitter's a Vampire, has mentioned how her character has been given literally no treatment at all. Has pretty much been treated like a background character, even though she's supposed to be, from what I've heard, more important.
Vanessa Morgan and Ashley Murray, who plays Josie, and Josie was another redhead in the comics and was white, but now she's played by a dark-skinned girl, and they said that they mentioned they didn't get paid the most. They got paid the least, and they did not have anyone on set to help them like the other white actors did.
Yep. Though I think we're getting on the subject, let's get back to the white hate washing.
Okay.
I've always seen Musa as a Asian woman, and her being 1/3 Singapore does not make her Asian. And even if she does have Asian ancestry, that it is not enough to make her Asian. And because she looks like a white woman, and whenever she had that weird makeup that was poorly done, and was clearly supposed to be Asian influence, hence it just looked like cultural appropriating to me. Hey, and that's coming from a white man. It was poorly done, and in fact, it's pretty much cultural appropriating to a T.
It's awful. And then there's Tara.
Yeah,
Because
supposed to be Flora, she.
I will say I'm happy to see a plus size woman on the screen, but there are such
especially
a thing
since the
as
bodies
brown
in
plus
the
size.
especially since the bodies in the original were very unrealistic, even by animation standards.
Yes, they're not
Yeah.
good, and they look like their knees are going to break off at any moment.
But yeah, doesn't help that they make her the butt of fat jokes, make her insecure about her weight instead of just having her go around being all confident. That was, what's the point of that? Why can't they just have a plus size woman who is just
Confident and fashionable.
Yeah, since they give her the worst fashion, and she's given such frumpy fashions, but that's not even the worst offender. We all know the worst offender is that they've replaced a woman of color with a white woman. I mean, I'm all for including different body types, but there are plenty of Hispanic or Latino women that are plus size and brown looking for work.
America Ferrera.
They could have found someone with the body type and the skin and color and the proper race, of course, and with charm they prove they'll just get any person who's brown, and I don't blame the actresses for that, because I'm pretty sure that they weren't told about the whole race thing until they were under contract.
Yes, and their racial ambiguity does help them because they can pass for Black or Latina, Sarah Jeffrey. Because there's a show where she plays Jennifer Lopez's daughter, but then on Descendants, her grandma is like clearly a Black woman. And I'm just like, so what are you?
I'm guessing that they were trying to have Aurora be Black and her dad and Philip be white.
Yeah, but she's she could read as any which way.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm not blaming the actresses for them being hired, because they were not told about the whole the characters being Hispanic or Latina until after they were under contract and where it was too late to get out of it.
It was very poor marketing tactics.
Yeah.
And
anyway, Flora, yeah, she was someone who was a dark skinned Latina, definitely brown, and like around about the same shade you were when you visited me during the summer.
Yeah.
Because yeah, she's a bit lighter than it would be with the sun.
No, and another thing that I've noticed with plus size characters, and I think that Euphoria does this well. Like, there's a plus size girl in Euphoria. She's very fashionable. Like, everything flatters her body. But with plus size characters, they're either putting something way too frumpy and it doesn't flatter them, or if they try to be fashionable, then it's too tight and it also doesn't flatter them. So it's one extreme to the other, and it's never in the middle.
Yep, I will say that while I'm not a fan of Euphoria, mainly because I don't think Zendaya is a very good actress, and I do not hate or dislike Zendaya. She's a very sweet and genuine person. I just think she's a terrible actress. And gets too much, and also, which something I think you'll agree with, gets too much credit. Where as dark skin girls who are much more talented do not get nearly enough credit, but
Yes.
that's another subject entirely. Hey, but anyway, they did have very good fashion and very good visuals, I will say.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's talk about the fashion of Winx next. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If the real Stella had seen this, she would have burned the place to the ground. She would have gotten the sun, had it get super close, so it would burn, burn, burn.
Because, one, the way they dress Stella, she looks more like a mom ready to take her teen daughter to tea.
Yeah. And
It's
it
just-
is it's said that she dresses like that because she has a controlling a mother
And
her
this-
with high standards, and that would work if they did what they with if they did what Legally Blonde did with Elle Woods, where she was trying to start fitting in by dressing while still fashionable more conservatively, but then when she's by herself and with her friend, and what was the friend's name?
Paula.
Paula, she would dress more in her own style. If that was the case, it's like having Stella only being dressed that way when she's around her mother or around places is where she would be seen by public, because she is still a princess. But then have her dress in her own style when she's not that way. Then that would have made it more sense. But no, this is supposed to be her style all the time.
And just remember, these people are teenagers. I have
Yeah.
to keep putting emphasis on teenagers.
Even though they're played by adults, which I think is just it's so they can have them do drugs and avoid the whole child labor law limits.
Yeah.
But I will say that I am glad that from what I've heard, they're not showing them having sex. I mean, they're implying it, but not showing it, because just because you have adult actors does not make it any less creepy.
Yes.
Theme.
And just because you want a darker, edgy show doesn't mean you can't juxtapose that with color. Like
Yeah.
the movie Jawbreaker has it's about three teen friends who accidentally murder their one friend, but they also wear very bright, vibrant colors. But it's also about the murder of a teen girl.
Yeah. And also, and say what you want about Once Upon a Time, which is a great show, it had a darker and edgier tone compared to fairy tales, but also had vibrant colors and a bit of a campy vibe to it. Basically, the tone that this show should be having. But we're getting off the subject of the outfits, because
Yes.
all of them are awful. And yeah, they're having Bloom wear red all the time. And yeah, yes, I am glad that they're giving her and Layla, or Aisha, she's called. Yeah, there's a whole mess with this whole Layla Aisha thing, and it didn't start with this show.
Yes.
But anyway, always having her in red and having
She's dressed like
Layla
Emma
in blue,
Swan.
and having Layla Aisha in blue, because but no one would wear the same outfit every day. I mean, even Elle Woods would switch it up a bit. You can get away with that in a cartoon, but in real life, no one dresses that way. And yeah, like you said, they had her dressed more like Emma Swan, and not even Emma Swan. I mean Emma Swan in the 6th season, because
Yes.
she had fashionable outfits before for that. Even though in 4 and 5 she had a few questionable outfits.
Oh, and I feel like, who do you think would dress the most like Belle? Like, if you watch Once Upon a Time, Belle's Storybrooke outfits. Look, Emily
I would-
DeRaven, you're gorgeous, but they dressed you like you were 90 years old.
And her brown and hair did not flatter her, and yeah, hair
And-
definitely makes a difference. And I'd say that the person who would have Belle's wardrobe the most would probably be Tara, because they're so unflattering. Although, I'm guessing think based on that one outfit, they'd probably give Aisha the granny looking outfits.
I'm like, why
Yeah.
did you give her that like, you could have made that outfit cute. Like,
Yeah. Oh, and
it's just not good.
Oh, and speaking of Aisha, she is the only one who has not maintained her princess title. I mean, the princesses of the group have always been Stella, Bloom later finding out that she's a princess, Layla / Aisha was always a princess, and the four kids dub of Musa was technically a princess. They added that her father was a royal who did it and who advocated his throne because he wanted to write music. But either way, hey, Layla / Aisha was always a princess, which was as good. She was a princess long before her we had Tiana. She was an AMA princess is for girls that look like her to look up to and see themselves as a princess, and they took that away from her to have her be. I'll let you take this because you love ranting about those shit treatment of dark-skinned women the most.
Okay, so basically Aisha is the black best friend trope who has to pretty much babysit her white friend Bloom. And by the way, if you watch the original series, Stella and Bloom are the first to become friends out of the girls.
But yeah, now Stella is more like Diaspora, or I'll just say it, she's a bitch. And not
every girl in the show is a bitch, and Bloom does not get along with her parents at all.
Which is also so bad because it shows unhealthy relationship between adopted families, and in the original, well, no matter which dub it is, they have always been very close and loving. I mean, the father was a bit more overprotective of her and saw her more as still saw her as a little girl, but that's pretty typical with dads. Whereas the mother, she was very much more of a voice of reason, and while she would not instantly say yes to Bloom wanting to go to Magix and go to Althea, she did think it was something they needed to consider, whereas in Fate,
no, you can't find your adoptive parents. I don't know if that happened, but it feels more like that.
Yeah, that probably would happen, but yeah, they're pretty much just bitching at each other and calling each other her bitches, and some cringeworthy dialogue about...
The dialogue in the whole show sucks. Like, oh my gosh, Bloom doesn't know information. Happens to ask a boy to give her some information. Oh my gosh, you're mansplaining. Or is that Tara?
No, she said mansplain, but it was more... That was in a discussion with her dad. That from what I've understood, it was between her and her love interest, Scott. But there was definitely something about feminism, something... It was something that was very cringeworthy dialogue.
I was like, what? I don't even know. Nobody talks like this. Who talks like this?
Especially teenagers. They do not talk like that.
Oh my gosh, Mom, don't you feminist me. I was like, what?
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
okay,
I would expect a teenager who just found out about their powers to say, I was expecting a lot of Tinkerbells. I mean, that I would probably expect from someone who is just now finding out that they're a fairy and was living in the real world for so long. But the dialogue so forced and unnatural, and
I hate how... Sorry, I have to go back to this because it really bugs me. I hate how Aisha is just reduced to the black friend who has to bail Bloom out. And if you watch TVD, they basically just are probably gonna give her the Bonnie Bennett treatment. And if anything bothered Aisha... Sorry, I'm cutting off. If anything bothers Aisha, like... her problems don't get recognized, but the minute something is bothering one of the white characters, oh my gosh, what's wrong? I'm here for you.
Yeah, and when Bloom was testing her powers and nearly burned the forest down, and Aisha basically saved her ass and anyone who would be around by using her powers to put out the fire, Bloom bitches at her. Yeah, because yeah, saving her ass, as how dare she? Eh? And if you've seen the show, Layla slash IE show was definitely not someone whose storyline depended on white characters. In fact, Bloom wasn't even the friend that she was the closest to. She was definitely the closest with Musa.
And who was?
And I'd say the friend that she was the second closest to was Flora.
Yeah.
The two women of color, and her storylines didn't depend on that. In fact, there was even an episode where they acknowledged the whole strong, perfect black woman and stereotype that's about how always having to be perfect and how she still has nightmares and a bit of a PTSD about it.
Yeah.
Which for the time was very big because issues about black issues, especially ones about dark-skinned women and all they had to go through, were not as talked about as they are now, and even now they're not talked about enough.
No, they're not. And then what was I gonna say next? Is there anything else we should cover? We should cover female relationships because
because in the original they had a great, healthy female relationship. If they all felt like one tight knit community, but
there's always, and for some reason with female friendships, they always have to be in a triangle, which I'm like,
and
they can work, but other times I'm just like, no.
And to be fair, there was a bit of a love triangle in the first season with the whole Blue Sky and his, who was calling himself Brandon, which actually was the name of his squire, who they switched identities for blah blah blah, and he did not bother telling Bloom that he was engaged to someone else and was actually pursuing Bloom while he was engaged to someone else. And Bloom, smartly, he tried to distance herself from him for obvious reasons. So I think they were trying to reference that and the whole switching identities with his squire, who was actually Stella's love interest. I think that's what they were trying to reference, but they just did it horribly, and also made Stella look even worse.
I'm just tired of seeing
love
triangles, and also there's nothing cute about a lot of shows do this where the kids are totally disrespectful. And if I ever spoke to my mom, or especially my grandma that way, dude, I'd have very sore and swollen lips because she'd probably thump me. And some of these kids, like, I wish these parents would just backhand their kids once in a while. And not saying that parents should do that, but
these kids, they definitely deserve it because they just go way over the line and being disrespectful.
They're too grown. It sucks. Never watching it.
Yeah, we're definitely not watching it because of the whitewashing, and I definitely don't want to see them butcher something that was important to my childhood. And also I want to talk about the work, because in this world is all dark, gloomy, and every generic Harry Potter Hogwarts knockoff that there is about magic nowadays. Whereas the other, it did something that was unique. It actually combined both the magic world and technology, where it was a sort of a futuristic looking thing, which was unique. It wasn't just some fairy tale thing where technology didn't exist.
And I like how Bloom mentions in the one episode in the cartoon, she's like, this is the magic capital. And she's like, this is it? Oh, I'm so disappointed.
And they were like, well, what did you expect? And I don't know. broomsticks, flying dragon, and they say, well, that's just all fairy tale stuff. This is the real world, and also, why they have a fairy who is of technology, and I have no idea why Techno was not in there. I guess they were trying to, who they thought she was the least popular and wouldn't fit in her technology thing, wouldn't fit into this dark world. Yeah, are you saying that a hacker Techno would not work in this world?
Hackers are super popular. Arrow fans and Smallville fans, Felicity and Chloe, are super popular. So why wouldn't Tekna be super popular? Because she could just put those to sleep.
And also something about the fashions. Yeah, we're kind of all over the place because we're not really... unlike other reviewers, we do not have scripts prepared. This is just all us. They say nothing about their personalities. I mean, Bloom was a sort of had a style that was a girl next door, her kind of feminine tomboyish. Stella was a fashionista that loved to draw attention to herself.
And she competed in pageants, so she should be wearing lots of, like, flowy outfits.
Yep. Flora, even though she's not in this, though Tara is clearly and is supposed to be her, was very much, she was feminine, had looking, and had sort of a bohemian look to her.
Yes.
Especially with those blouses that were sort of puffy and also showed her shoulders.
Bohemian or cottagecore for modern day Flora, by the way.
Yeah. Best. And Techna sort of had
She had athleisure wear, like a lot of athletic wear.
She definitely, it looked like someone who would have some very, I think the fabric I'm thinking of is taffeta.
Mm-hmm.
Outfits that were made of taffeta where they were stylish, but also in a way practical in a sense. And even though, crop tops aren't considered to be practical, which I disagree because if you're working out, it helps you sweat a lot less.
I'll tell you what's not practical. Drawing girls with big old boobs and then having zero to no support because jumping up and down without a bra is uncomfortable. Sorry if that was TMI.
Digressing.
Sorry.
And Musa was very much, well, for one, and some of her outfits were very Asian influenced, but also had a very punk street look to it without having streaks in her hair, though her hair is blue.
Yeah, it's like a blacky blue raven color.
Yeah. So yeah, she wouldn't really need to do streaks, and her style was very much edgy and street, but that, and I'd say it's pretty similar to Sasha's style.
Yeah.
And actually, Sasha and Jade's combined.
And Aisha was very...
Aisha slash Layla was very sporty, a little bit grungy, but not overly so to where it would just look unflattering and baggy.
Yeah. But a lot of... I mean, it doesn't mean... You can make updates because a lot of the Winx girls' outfits were not school appropriate.
And let's face it, some things do work better in animation, but you can update the outfits by staying true to the style, and they had actual fashion design vendors working on it. Whereas with the outfits here, they had some fashion designer from Real Housewives or something.
Yeah, this show...
Which explains why the fashions look very much for middle-aged women. Except for Musa's. Hers are just hideous.
Musa's are just, And also, with the fashion, it's not like you can't make it... I don't know why, if a girl is badass, she has to dress like a boy. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with it, but there's nothing wrong with dressing girly and being a badass. It's like...
Yep.
There's no happy medium.
Flora and Stella, anybody? They dressed very girly and were still badass.
Yes.
But, and yeah. Oh, something definitely important to talk about. The LGBT thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, lots to talk about there.
I feel like that show... This video is going to be really long, so thank you for being patient with us. And
well, we had a lot to rant about.
yes, the LGBT... I don't know if it's just me or
And let's also keep in mind that the LGBT character is also a black boy.
And he's kind of a jerk. Isn't he kind of a jerk?
No. Oh, that was
the bi character or someone.
No, that was Ribbon, who was originally Musa's love interest in the original show, and their relationship it was toxic, but they made him even worse.
I thought there was a lot of LGBT subtext in the original show. It's not like in your face, but there's a lot of LGBT subtext. Like Stella and Bloom seem like they'd get together.
Yeah. I don't know about that, and that's coming from someone who's watched the show, but they had a lot of homophobic tendencies in this new show, and they also had him have a thing for Ribbon, the guy who was torturing him, and the villain, Beatrix.
Why'd you have to say your name? Ugh.
Yeah, as if the thought of him being attracted to toxic people wasn't bad enough. Yeah, having the LGBT character be attracted to the people that are horrible to him and are the villain.
I'm kind of tired of seeing, I know there's healthy and unhealthy relationships within the LGBT community, but there is all relationships.
Can we have more focus on the healthy ones?
Yeah, and I'm like, you do too much fighting, and then you talk up of how it's gonna be like a gay central episode, and it's such a letdown. I'm like,
yeah,
no.
Yeah. I love Once Upon a Time, but that was a big disappointment, especially isn't. Why couldn't they done something with Mulan? I mean, they could have had
sleeping warrior.
They could have even had Shang come in and have Shang be a girl. It wouldn't be the first time that they gender bent a character like they did Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time deserves its own video on the queer baiting, the race issues, and the rape. But anything else about Winx Club, or did we pretty much cover it?
Oh, I had something else on my mind. But having Tara being having a crush on the gay character, yeah, because she doesn't suffer enough with all the fat jokes and the unflattering outfits. We also have to have her get her heart broken by a guy who's obviously gay.
She has a crush on the gay character?
Yeah.
What did I miss? Have I not been following Modern Girls? Also, Modern Girls posts a lot of screen caps because she suffered through the show. So shout out to Modern Girls for suffering through the show.
Yeah. Yes, and we watched her video, which was awesome. And yeah, she also used screen caps to avoid copyright, because apparently you can't say anything bad about this show without getting copyright. And surprisingly, she's getting attacked by some fake Winx Club stans. Yeah, you heard her. This show actually has stans.
The show has stans? She's like, yeah, I'm getting attacked by Winx stans. Winx Fate stans. I was like, the show has stans?
Yeah, I was like, I don't believe it. This shit show has stans.
Although, if you like darker, edgy shows, and if you didn't watch the original Winx, it may be for you, but for us...
Yeah, but even and without it, even if it was something on its own, it still has way too many problems. Like the treatment of Aisha, the characters being so unlikable, well, the LGBT phobic behavior, the plus size phobic behavior, pretty much just ugh.
Yeah. And apparently, according to Modern Girls and a bunch of people who watch the show, Tara's actually the most likable one. And I tend to avoid shows like The Plague when they whitewash characters, and I tend not to like whitewash characters,
And also,
even if they are good characters.
And also something else is that because it was diverse it also meant, and then since all of them end up in relationships, it also meant interracial relationships, which is something that we stan.
We like interracial, but we would also like to see black and black relationships, and not just where the black woman is either biracial like myself, and I say black woman biracial, but I mean biracial, but she's seen as black in the eyes of the world, or not just where the black man is 10 shades darker than his light-skinned black girl friend.
And in the original show, Layla slash Aisha had two love interests. The first one was Nabu, who I think was supposed to be Native American, black, African American coded. And then, at the end of season 4, they killed him off.
They killed him off?
Yeah, and then replaced him with a white boy. Yeah. That was the problem with itself. But it still had some interracial relationships like Flora, who was Latino or Hispanic coded.
Because she's based off of Jennifer Lopez.
Yeah, and her love interest, Helia, who gives off of Asian vibes, or at least biracial vibes, because his eyes, they definitely do not say white, because they're a lot more narrow than in the other her male characters, and has very long, silky black hair. Yes. He has some Asian in him.
Oh, yeah.
And Musa and Rickman, while a toxic couple, there was at least interracial there, even if it wasn't good.
But we need the good, the bad, the ugly. We want to focus more on the good, but...
And even then...
There needs to be a balance.
Even then, their relationship, while horrible, was not nearly as horrible as anything that was in this show. And the acting, it was good. I mean, I'd say the best acting comes from the actress who plays Bloom and Precious Mustafa.
Yeah, and the actress who plays Bloom and Precious actually can pass for teenagers if they would dress like teenagers.
Yeah, I think that the actress herself can pass for it if she dressed more like a teenager, and I have no problem with the actresses they hired for Bloom, Stella, and Aisha, even though I personally would have chosen different actors, and I am glad that they chose a dark-skinned woman to play Aisha, and one that's actually darker than her animated counterpart, which normally it's usually the opposite.
The opposite.
But it doesn't help when they whitewash the other characters of color and give the one person they didn't whitewash having poor written storylines that revolve around white people. That's such a tired cliche at this point.
Yes, it is.
In fact, it was a tired cliche long ago.
Yeah, but now it's just more noticeable.
In fact, now that I think about it, they just found a more safe way of returning them to the... I hate that I'm going to say this word. The mammy thing. I'm going to need to wash my mouth out after this.
It's okay. They mammify a lot of black characters, and she's basically going to be, and he won't say this word, the magical Negro of the show. Like, a lot of black characters are the magical Negroes of their show, and they normally die quicker. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but that's true. I think that was probably the case with Nabu, even though he's also coded it as both black and Native American, I think. though he was lighter than Aisha slash Layla.
Yes.
I call her Layla, but I've been calling her Aisha because of how that's her name in the Fate Saga. And, and while the actresses who play Tara and Musa are good, they were just so horribly miscast. That's because of their race. And
Yes.
while I do think that it's mostly the fault of the casting director, the actors do need to be held to some
Some
level
accountability.
of accountability. While I definitely don't think attacking them on Twitter is or any social media is acceptable at all. That's never
Yes.
acceptable. They do need to be held accountable for being a part of his his whitewashing. I mean, in fairness to Emma Stone, when she played a character who I believe was supposed to be Asian, she actually did not know about it until later or after the movie was released, and she made a public apology. So,
Yeah. And
and
they
I think she told people not to see it.
and there was a time where the guy was, I forgot his name.
I forget the actor, but he was supposed to be in Hellboy.
He was supposed to be Japanese, and he was white.
And when he found out about it, that he dropped out of it before any contracts were signed, and they made a public apology. Which,
Yeah.
even though I'm not familiar with the actor, I think that it's very classy, and more white actors should do that.
Yeah.
I think now we've said everything we need to,
Yes. So
especially since it's close to being an hour long.
yes. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed us rambling. And as he said before, you can go find his channel, The Wicked Merman, on YouTube. And I'll put a link to it below. And anyways, we're signing off and have a good one. Bye.